Welcome to the Bros of Gardening. I'm Mike Westphal, your host, and I'm joined by Daniel Van Dyke, as always, my co-host. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, bud. We wrapping up October here and looking forward to the holiday season we got coming up. And so I'm enjoying it, looking forward to it.
Yep. And of course, we're joined by Alex, who's going to help kind of ask us some questions throughout this podcast. So how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Again, I'm also very excited for the Christmas season coming up here. So.
Yeah. We got Thanksgiving. We got Christmas. We're going to take a little bit of a break after this episode. And then, we'll be back with you as soon as we can get back with you. But we'll wrap this up with a little bit of a debatable subject, or something that, I think we need to just explore more, is really the solutions of using either organic or traditional methods to cure diseases or fertilize your lawn or whatever it might be. There's almost always an organic or a traditional solution. And we're saying traditional. There's another way of saying chemical or man-made. But traditional is what we've always kind of known to be. And then there's a lot of these new organic solutions that are coming on board. And so we'll dive deep into this and see where we get to.
It's a topic that comes up a lot.
Yeah,
for us.
It definitely does.
We're going to get into it. So, Mike, some customers are worried about chemicals in traditional products. How do you address those concerns without dismissing their effectiveness?
Yeah, so it goes really to every case by case. And so that's kind of how we treat it. I mean, that's why we kind of renamed our garden supply area into the garden pharmacy, because we feel like we're like your plant doctors. So you got an issue with your plant. We're going to prescribe you something that we think is the best and the most effective. And we're going to ask lots of questions to get to that result. So the easiest example would be, okay, I've got an issue with my tomato plant. Well, I'm going to probably not recommend a chemical solution. There are some, and they've been proven to be very safe. But I will almost always err on the side of caution and say, then that's when you say, do you want an organic or traditional solution? So people are more and more worried about what they're using around their homes, in their yards, especially with edible plants. But sometimes, and we're probably going to say this multiple times throughout this podcast, sometimes you've got to use a traditional method, especially if it's something that you're trying to, if it's, got a keepsake issue to, or something that you've grown for many, many years. A great example would be, I have a Japanese maple that was the first plant that I ever bought at the garden center. So it's now approaching 21 years old. If it had an issue with it, I would really not want to lose that plant. And so I would treat it with what I think is the best solution for it. And that way I'm saving it and protecting something that is near and dear to me.
Sure.
If it's a tomato plant that I grew from seed and I've got 30 of them, then maybe I'll try some different things with it, or I'll use something that maybe doesn't quite have as effective or a high effectiveness as I would know a traditional method to have, and go with an organic solution because I know it's safe and I know that I've got multiple options if I happen to lose it. So it really is case by case, and the concern is very well warranted. I mean, Daniel's probably going to talk about. I mean, we got lots of people that live on the water. Yep. All of our waterways are somewhat connected.
Yeah.
So we've got a big movement there. And so I think it's a hot topic. I used to teach lawn classes all the time. Fescue lawn was like king around here. And so we would talk about fescue lawns, and organics started happening. I mean, it's been around for a long time, obviously, but this really organic movement, I don't even remember when that was. It was probably 2012, maybe. I don't remember. We did a whole show based off of it, of like catching rainwater off of your roof and using organic lawn foods. And so we went really, really heavy into organics because that's what everybody wanted. But I still remember teaching those classes and saying, hey, like, okay, you want to start from scratch and you want the best lawn. You might do a traditional lawn setup, which would be using a man-made a lawn food to get your grass established. Then let's start taking that traditional lawn food out and replacing it with an organic lawn food that over time builds these beneficial bacteria and soil microbes and all of these great things that literally pull nutrients out of the atmosphere into your soil. So that's the cool part about this and more of it has been implemented. And so less and less discussion has been around, I'm worried about what I'm spraying, or I'm worried about what I'm treating with. It's more, is this organic? Because now people trust organics.
Right.
They've been proven to work well and do well. And so it's less convincing now. And it's more, hey, I've got an organic solution to almost all your problems. This problem might be too big for that organic solution. Let's go traditional and then switch back to organics. Mm-hmm. So it's case by case.
I think the garden pharmacy is a great reference because it's just like, we always talk about plants and all that. They are living things as well.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's probably plenty of people who argue about, traditional medicines versus maybe natural medicines. And there's a lot of people who will claim both work. And I think it's very true in our industry as well. But sometimes for maybe more severe or serious issues or very specialized issues, there may be a traditional or chemical-based product that can solve or clear your issue up quicker. Like Mike was saying, it might have to do with, what type of plants it is, how many you have of them. I mean, there's different reasons to approach it different ways, but I think it's a great kind of analysis or analogy that, a garden pharmacy, because that's basically what we're doing is we're treating these ailments or giving them the vitamins and the supplements they need. And there are chemical ones and natural ones that we use for ourselves as well. Yep. So I think it's a great reference.
Yeah, just like in the medical profession, I mean, we've learned things over the years. Yeah. Oh, maybe we shouldn't be using this anymore. Yep. And that happens in the garden center too. Products will come off the shelf because either we've been using them too long or we've found that there's bad side effects to them or there's issues with them or they don't work as well. I mean, some insects can become immune to some of these things over time.
Really?
And so we found like, hey, this one has lost its effectiveness, so we're replacing it now. So we're constantly evolving too, just like the medical field. Important. Yep.
So Daniel, when planning a landscape, how do you decide whether an organic or traditional approach is best for a project?
So I think it's really the customer is who is going to decide. We'll have a conversation with the customer, and we get into this a lot. For us, like Mike was talking about with fertilizers, our biggest one is weed treatment. Okay. And so obviously the voodoo term or word is Roundup, which a lot of people have very strong opinions of, and I completely understand where they're coming from, and I will never knock somebody for having those opinions.
Right.
There is also a reason it is still so popular and it gets used a lot is because, like we were saying, I mean, I have used a lot of different products. And obviously we spray it in a safe way. We're very conscientious of it.
Yep.
But nothing works better than that. I mean, I haven't found anything that works better. And it's the glyphosate in it. But, we use that product when applicable. But we have plenty of customers who ask us not to use it. We say no problem. A lot of times that means that you're going to go with a little bit more labor-intensive solution, which is going to be hand pulling and doing some things like that. And so it all comes down to effectiveness and cost, and there's different things that come into play. And so we'll really come off the customer. We don't want to do anything that's going to make the customer uncomfortable. And like Mike said, there's a lot of waterways and stuff around here, so I completely respect where everybody's coming from. And we try to be conscientious of that. And perfect example, we were spraying a property today, and it is insanely windy. And so we're not spraying today because we don't want to overspray. We don't want to have any adverse effects. We don't want to spray anything we don't want to spray, whether that's other plant material, the lawn. That's obviously for our benefit as well. We don't want to damage anything. But so again, it's just being conscientious of it, trying to do it as safe as we can. But yeah, as far as what type of approach we take, organic versus traditional, we really talk to the customer. We try to educate the customer as much as we can. I mean, obviously, if there was a completely organic solution that had the exact same effectiveness, I would love to use that as well.
Right.
And maybe one day we'll have one. I don't know, but it's just
time will tell.
It's hard. We haven't found that yet, and we're usually dealing with if it's one little area that you want to get cleaned up, maybe going out and hand pulling, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But if you're dealing with 1,000, 1,500 square feet of bed space that you're trying to get cleaned up and get ready to prep and plant,
you gotta use
it's a lot easier. You don't have to, and we've had people who we have done it the hard way before. But even that, when you talk about pure effectiveness, and a lot of times there's not much of a contest when it comes to that. So we will give our recommendation. We'll try to educate them on everything we know. We explain to them that we've been using, different products. We'll give them different options. We'll even price it out doing both, because a lot of times they may have in their mind they want to do it one way, but they don't necessarily understand what that's going to look like from a cost difference. But obviously we want to do everything to make sure they're comfortable and give them the best job. So it's kind of trying to find that balancing act and kind of playing off the customer and what they want to accomplish and how their viewpoint on things.
Yeah, and I think it's it's kind of back to kind of what I was saying too. It's let's set you up so that you don't have to do as much of these traditional solutions in the future. So I mean, for landscape and even our customers, we talk about it all the time, where it's like, okay, I need to spray this section to create your new bed, but then I'll use an organic fertilizer to get your plant started, and then we'll maybe use Typar and rock because you won't have to weed as much, and then we'll use natives or low maintenance because they have less issues. It doesn't require as much water, which doesn't require as much runoff. And then, or it doesn't, these plants don't have disease or insect issues, so you don't have to spray insecticides or fungicides as much. So there's all of these things that are working their way towards it already. And so that's kind of where I go from like that big boom of organics. Let's use organics has really subsided, but not really. Like it's being layered into everything that we kind of do now.
It's an option.
Yeah. And I mean, like the Roundup is obviously a hot subject. And so, it works great. And now they've got other chemical options. Still chemical. It's still a traditional method. And the organic ones, might be hand pulling. There's lots of solutions here. And we try to stay very kind of adamant on like, we're supporting organics. We're pushing organics. That's what we believe in. Sometimes, not always, we might not be able to use them, but we're going back to organics as fast as we can.
Yeah. And I think, you're saying as far as when to use them, Mike, mentioned it earlier too. If we are dealing with a vegetable or edible garden, I mean, there are instances where we even say like, hey, an organic product would be best for this. And so there are blatantly obvious ones, but like I said, one of the most disputed ones for us is certainly like weed control. And then and doing things like that. So that's one for us that's big, and we've got to just like I said, we just talk to the customer and we try to figure out the best way forward.
Yep, exactly.
Well, then, Mike, from a garden center standpoint, do you notice trends in what customers are leaning towards, like organic, traditional, or maybe a mix of both?
Yeah, so I still think it's a mix. I think organics are certainly, I typically will say if somebody comes up and says, I've got an insect problem, and I show them what I think is the best solution, their next question is going to be, is it organic or not? So I think it's still very prevalent and people are very much on the organic side. It's gotten to the point where it's almost always one of the first or second questions that we ask or that the customer asks. So it's obvious that organics are the biggest one. Another great way to see this is we've got two different potting soils. This is kind of funny. We've got an organic potting mix and a all-purpose potting mix. So you would say, okay, the organic is organic and the all-purpose is a traditional mix. Well, it's just potting soil. So, and the only difference between the two is the wetting agent. The wetting agent in the organic is aloe, and the wetting agent in the regular potting soil is a synthetic man-made wetting agent. Wetting agents are necessary in a potting soil, otherwise it becomes hard as a brick. But our number one, probably 10-to-1 ratio organic potting soil is our bread and butter potting soil. That's what people buy. So it shows right there in the results that people are in tune with organics.
Especially when they're comparable.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and then it's really just up to what the customer really wants. So I think it's a bit of a mix. I mean, I always use the analogy of like talking about plant foods. And I'll tell customers this, and I maybe have even said it here on this podcast. If you can accidentally dump a whole bag of organic plant food on a plant and it doesn't kill it, then how much is it really doing? Now it is.
Absolutely.
It's doing what I was saying earlier. It's adding mycorrhizae, beneficial bacteria, soil microbes. It's pulling nutrients out of the atmosphere. It's doing all these great things. It takes time to establish that and build that. And so you're working your way towards that. But if your plant needs plant food, and a traditional method might be the better way to go. And so that's where you've got to, Daniel's basically said it, you've got to read the instructions. I mean, even on organics, you got to. I mean, you can kill a plant with an organic, insecticide if you spray it multiple times, or if you use a canola oil, horticultural oil in the middle of, a 9,500 degree day, you can still. So it is always recommended. I will never say don't do it. Read your labels on all of these products because it'll tell you exactly how it should be applied, when it should be applied. Daniel's mentioned not on windy days. You don't want to spray it and then all of a sudden a rain come and wash it off and run it into the waterways. So it's knowing what you're doing, asking questions, reading labels, and just being smart about it is the best option. And then ask questions if you're not quite sure. But organic is by far the most kind of sought after, in that the whole non-GMO stuff. And so all of those things are very, very popular.
Right.
And it really depends on the customer as to what degree we're talking about.
Sure.
I mean, you could say using tap water doesn't make it organic anymore, because what we have to put in tap water make it drinkable. So I mean, you got fluoride and different types of things. So it depends on what degree and what level we're trying to get to. But organics are the future. They're only getting better, and they're only going to help build all of these great things that it can do over time. So it's definitely head over heels. Organic is the one.
Well, then, so Daniel, are there situations where combining both methods actually get the best results? And how do you even explain that to clients?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, and again, we would love to use organics as much as we possibly can. But at the same time, kind of from our point of view, this is where kind of that retail landscape shift happens. Mm-hmm. They're hiring us to come in and create something for them, paying us to come in and do the work so that they don't have to do that, whether it's too much of a project or they just don't feel like doing it. So, that's when it comes in talking about going back to like the weed control. Right. If we either hand pull, which is not as effective, certainly, some of the organics, I mean, and like I said, I'm not saying none of them work, but if you've got somebody who's got a thick overgrown area and they're trying to get that under control and build a bed there, they've got ground covers, ivies, and they're trying to get rid of all that. If you don't spray it, in my experience, if you don't get some type of a spray on there, you're going to have issues with it coming back. So the last thing, our goal is to set the customer up for success. Yep. So if we come in there and we don't do it that way, they're going to have stuff growing back. They're going to be disappointed with the product we created. And so it's trying to have those conversations. But then, like Mike said, and this has changed in just the past couple years, when we would plant, we would use a fertilizer, a traditional fertilizer. Well, and Mike helped me with this, that we had a shortage of that fertilizer for one reason or another. And he, we talked about the planting process, and really the best thing for the plant was using this biotone starter fertilizer, which is organic. And so, that product, so now we not only, we use the traditional methods maybe in the preparation of the bed, but then we come in and we do use the organic fertilizers and stuff like that when we can, to try to, so using that, and that's just our standard practice now. That's not by request of customer. Right. That's just what we do because it's the best thing for the plant. So the answer is certainly yes, and when we can do both of them, but again, it all comes down to the client, explaining that to the client, and for us, what we are trying to do is make this as low maintenance and easier process as possible, and a lot of times that does bring in and introduce those traditional chemicals, but there are instances where the organic is just as, if not more effective. And if we can do that, then I think everybody's winning. So I think definitely trying to use both when we can. And if we're treating, different chemicals like the horticulturals and stuff like that, I mean, we'll come in and use those. And so a lot of the stuff we do is organic because it's the best option. But it's not, like I said, there are instances where we still need to combine that with some traditional treatment as well.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it's the mix. So it's let's use this real quick so we can get you there faster. Like it'll be easier on you and we can get you there quicker if we just do this one application, and then we can switch over real quick and start using the other thing.
Yeah, and if you do it and you eradicate that weed or overgrown issue one time, then it's going to be a lot easier to maintain by hand pulling or by cleaning things up. But if we do that and then everything grows back, you're going to be right back where you were. And every time you go to clean out your garden, it's going to be this, horrendous chore. And that's not what anybody wants. So like Mike said, maybe you just try to use it a little more sparingly. Let's do it one time and then try to kind of wean off of that and start using more organic or just, labor-based solutions to those types of things.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this one's for the both of you. What's one tip that you could give gardeners who are on the fence about switching to organic solutions?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, for like Mike said, for me is definitely just read the label, understand what you're doing. I mean, as far as a tip, I mean, it seems somewhat redundant, but a lot of people, you look stuff up online and it's like, okay, I need this. Well, then all of a sudden the percentage of that product that is in that bottle, that specific bottle you're buying. So read the contents, definitely follow the guidelines. They're recommending that type of stuff for a reason. But if understand what you're doing and take into account and just pay attention. If you think there's an organic solution and you want to stay organic, go for it. But don't treat it, step back and say, I'm done. Keep an eye on it, see the effectiveness. And I would say, don't get too nervous about traditional chemicals because they are effective and people do use them for a reason. I do think there's a place for both in the industry. But if you're trying to make the switch, it's not a bad thing to try to go more organic. I'd say it's a great thing. And like Mike said, it's definitely the future. But just maybe pick and choose your spots of where you use it to also set yourself up for success. Because if you're putting in a ton of time, a ton of energy, a ton of resources to create this, space that you enjoy, and you're leaning into the organic and maybe it's not as effective as some traditional, well, really, I mean, you're going to get disheartened. You're not going to have the product you want. And that's the last thing we want is for people to say, you know what, this just isn't worth it. And I'll just, and I'll just let it go or and stop gardening in certain areas because they think it's unobtainable. So just kind of pick and choose your spots. And I think that's going to be the best thing for you is try to create that mix and that blend. And like Mike said in his first point was, if it's something that is very near and dear to your heart, maybe be a little bit more aggressive with it. And if it's, and kind of just like I said, pick and choose your spots.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say it's coming. You're not going to be able to stop it. So if you're on the fence of, whether you want to switch, I get it. Like I'm a traditional gardener. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time now and I want my, plants to jump when I put the plant food on there. But I also know the benefits over what I've learned and everything that I've experienced, that the benefits are going to come and they're going to come down the line and you're building something rather than giving it instant gratification. So that's part of we're talking about like health, right? Yeah. I mean, the health of humans is the same thing. Eat better, exercise more, do all of these things to prevent stuff. How many times do I say be preventative rather than curative? So doing all of these things, organics lead that industry. They lead the preventative rather than curative. They lead the overall health of your plants. So doing those things is only going to benefit you in the long run. And eventually, I'll put it this way, we got more things coming off the shelf that are traditional and more things going on that are organic. So eventually, I don't know when, and probably not for a very, very long time, some of those traditional methods are just going to be gone. You're not going to be able to get them anymore. And so organics are going to be the only solutions, the solution of the future. So jump on board because it's happening. And what I love about it is kind of what I've mentioned before. The big push to say do it has happened. Now it's just naturally occurring. So now it's it's not behind the scenes. It's just, hey, this isn't there. This is what we recommend now. I mean, a great kind of specific example, I mean, the biotone is one, would be like tent caterpillars or bagworms. Mm-hmm. Now it's spinosad that's recommended. It's the number one treatment of that specific type of insect. So, I mean, and BT, which sounds very traditional chemical, is Bacillus thuringiensis, which is a bacteria that only affects worms. like caterpillar type of worms. So like your cabbage moths. So we've been using that one for many, many years, and that's considered organic and very, very safe. It's OMRI listed now. So a lot of these things have been happening naturally now and occurring to where organic solutions are now the best option. So that's what's cool about this is obviously, and garden centers are, coincide with Mother Nature and the earth and keeping plants alive and bettering the health of plants. And so all of that works perfectly with organics, which is why it's just naturally occurring anyways. So
there you go.
I don't think there's a lot of people on the fence anymore. I think they're using them whether they know they are or not.
Just so ingrained, essentially.
It's just part of it now. It's part of what we do.
Sure.
Makes sense. Well, I believe this is it.
Yes. Yeah. Another good fun season.
Yeah. End of season 2.
That was good. All right. Well, we welcome all of your questions and comments. Let us know what you'd like to hear when we get back to doing our podcast, The Bros of Gardening. We've enjoyed it. It's been another fun season. And we'll see you when we get back.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.